What's up? I'm Vin, and today I want to talk about my worst math test experience. So this was back in spring 2010, and I was taking a class called Advanced Linear Algebra. So if we take a look at my transcript real quick, you can see here that I got a W in the class, and sadly W doesn't stand for winner, that stands for withdraw, which basically means that you drop out of the class and you're about to get an F, but you take the W so that you don't get an F averaged into your transcript. So it just almost counts as if you never took the class, but you also don't get your money back. Now, a little bit about the class. The professor that taught this class was from Princeton, and he was probably one of the smartest professors that I ever worked under. And I have nothing against this guy. I mean, he was super passionate about the subject. He obviously loved math, and he was super, super smart. But that class was just very, very intimidating from what I remember. I just remember the first week, we're just getting 7 pages of notes within 1 hour and just super fast paced. And people dropped this class before the add drop deadline. And it was just scaring people away. So already the tone was set that this guy is very, very serious and this is going to be a really hard class. Now, the way this class was laid out, it was all rank based. And I remember for the first exam, I got a 32 out of 60 and that counted as a B plus. So it just depended on how you did compared to everybody else. So the environment was a little bit cutthroat. Even though we all worked together, there was that little edge of you had to beat the other person next to you. But now for the most awful test taking experience, it was the second exam. So my confidence levels going into the second exam were almost at the ground. I just had no confidence with my 32 out of 60. I just knew this was going to be awful because the content was harder than the first exam. And just preparing for this exam, because my confidence was so low, I remember just studying for hours on end, but none of the content was sticking. It just felt like I was reading the same page over and over, and my time that I put in was just useless. Now, usually I could show up to a math test, and even if I didn't do so great, I could just show up somewhat prepared, all right, I'm just going to go at it and just do my best. But showing up to this one, I just had this gut-wrenching feeling that it was just going to be completely awful. And as soon as the test started, I remember the first question, I wrote down a solution that I figured might get 20% credit if I was lucky. Same thing with the second question. And then by the time I got to the third or fourth question, I remember it distinctly. It was prove the Cauchy-Schwarz inequality. Now, once the pressure of school is over and now I could just look at math casually, it does seem like a fascinating piece of math. But at the time, it was just so much pressure to just learn all of this content at once. And I had to produce a perfect proof of this theorem, which on the spot, I just remember having that feeling like I just completely blanked out and thinking, what on earth is this in front of me? And I had no idea what to write down. And by then I just felt so defeated. So what I wound up doing is I just took the pencil, I erased my work for the first 2 questions, and I handed in a blank piece of paper to the professor. I walked out. Now, right from there, I immediately went to the computer, I pressed the withdraw button, and at that point, I just felt like rage quitting all of my math classes. But I knew to just take time and think about it, and I spoke with a few friends, and they said, look, this is a bad experience, but you just have to keep moving and just finish out the last 2 math classes that you have for this semester. Now, after that conversation with my friends, I remember sitting at the main fountain at Binghamton University, just really contemplating if math was the right major for me. In that moment, I just felt so defeated, and I was like, there's no way I'm smart enough to complete this major. And I just didn't know what to do. Now, looking back at this memory from 12 years ago, I'm so glad that I had a great network of people around me, and I'm so glad that I didn't give up and that I kept moving. So if you failed a math test recently, believe me, I feel your pain, but you have to keep moving. I tell my high school students this all the time. The number one rule of math and life is that you can't quit. You just have to keep going. That's the only way you get through, is you just have to keep working.